Hello, good evening, and welcome to Mythology Madness live painting on Thursday night. And welcome. Thank you for stopping by. And if you're watching this at a later time, thank you for taking a moment or two to just check out the video. I appreciate it. This is a Thursday night live painting using gouache, and this is Mythology Madness. And tonight, we're going to be doing a painting of Doc Holliday from the movie Tombstone, and maybe talking about the Wild West and the gunfight at the OK Corral and Tombstone and Doc Holliday, of course. So looking forward to it. I have my rough sketch here, and I have had this sketched out for months. Months. I'm talking probably August of last year. I sketched this out. But I really wasn't sure whether I wanted to do a loose painting or keep it tight and crisp. I still haven't decided, to be honest. So we are just going to, take it as it is. We're going to take it one step at a time. But I do want to tighten up the sketch just a little bit before I get started, and then we'll take it from there. This is so I got back into painting a while ago, not a while ago, a short while ago, and I used to paint with oils, and then that was when I was younger, and then when I got back into it, I switched over to watercolor just because it was easier to work with. I could travel with watercolors easier in my van or my vehicle at the time. I have a van now, but at the time, whatever vehicle I was using, I'm not sure what it was, to be honest. But I know it was easier to travel with the watercolors than oil paints. I had done a little bit of acrylic painting, and I didn't like it that much, but I did really like watercolor. And then one day, one of my art instructors, because I went back to art school to kind of figure out how to get better, because I wanted to work in movies and games. So you got to go back to school. You got to sharpen the skills, right? And we were talking about watercolors, and I was talking about how much I love watercolor painting. And then he asked me, "Have you ever used gouache?" And I was like, "No, I haven't actually." And he's like, "You really should try gouache." And some of the best advice I ever got. I tried it. I loved it. I was really surprised at what you can do with it, how you can build it up, and it's not as limiting as I thought it was going to be. So why do I love the gouache now? Because it's a lot more opaque. So, but I can water it down and still use it like a watercolor, or I can keep it and use the opaque properties of it, and I can use it straight out of the tube and even get some depth and thickness to the paint, which is kind of hard to do with watercolors. Not hard to do. You can't do it with watercolor. With watercolor, you cannot build it up. It's watercolor. But with gouache, you can. I use illustrated gouache because I can also reactivate it with water. And that is very cool. That's one of the properties I use a lot, especially because I don't always finish a painting the first time I sit down. And if I was using acrylic gouache, every time I stopped, that would be it. I wouldn't be able to blend any of the work that I had done before. but with the acrylics, excuse me, with the illustrated gouache, I can reactivate it. I have paintings that I've been working on for over a year that I can just add a little water, reactivate the base paint, and blend. So it's really cool. I enjoy it. I shouldn't say I enjoy it. I love it. I love working in gouache. I think it's a great medium, and I look to continue to make a lot of great paintings using it. Um, right now, I'm just kind of tightening up the sketch a little bit. Uh, I will start off tiling it, but I'm going to do a pretty, I'm going to do a wash over the whole thing first. And I'm going to start painting while the wash is still wet and get some of the natural blending of the blending properties of the water gouache, illustrated gouache. And I think that'll be pretty cool. I don't know. I I'm still debating on how tight I want it. Part of me really wants to kind of loosen it up a little bit, and give it a nice Wild West flair. Where part of me is like, tighten it up and really make it pop. Uh, of course, we're going to start somewhere in the middle and then we'll take it from there. Doc Holliday is so I am a Wild West. I'm not going to say fanatic, but I am a fan of the Wild West. Uh, one of the things I remember telling my dad when I was growing up is like, one day I'm going to move out to Arizona. And he's like, "You've never been to Arizona." And he's like, "How do you know you're going to like it?" I was like, "I just know, Dad. I just know. That's the place for me." And sure enough, I joined the Air Force on my second duty assignment. I was lucky enough to get stationed in Tucson, Arizona, not far from Tombstone. And the funniest thing is, I loved it. I did love it. Everybody was worried that it would be too hot for me. Um, Coming from the Midwest, maybe, my body wouldn't acclimate the way it should. And my body accepted it. I accepted it. And I loved living out west. I really loved it. I've had a chance to live in California, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, all over the West. And I love Arizona the most. I love Arizona the absolute most. Um, it it's something about it that for me that I can't really even put into words. It's just it's just right. I don't know. I feel good when I'm out there. I feel good out in the West. Now, don't get me wrong. It is hot than a mother sucker out there. Oh my God. Anybody who says it's not is not telling you the truth. It is hot as the dickens out in Arizona. But the funny thing is, the desert gets cold as well. So in the wintertime, it you need a coat. It gets really cold. But in the summertime, you can be out burning up in the daytime, but in the evening when the sun goes down, it's bliss. It is absolute bliss. Uh, and that's the part I love. Talking about the movie Tombstone, So I've seen. I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Gunfight at the OK Corral, which is a older black and white movie. It may be in color, but it's an older movie, and I thought that movie was just so cool. The funny thing is, it's very inaccurate as to um, what the OK Corral looks like. Uh, if you ever get a chance to actually travel out west, look at some of these places that they depict in the movies: the Alamo, the OK Corral, some of the valleys of death, and just monuments out there. Things that in the movies they portray to be a lot bigger in real life than they actually are, and that's cool. That's that's what effect. Um, so not disparaging anything on that, because that's what makes a good movie. You go to the movies to see something larger than life, right? You don't go to the movies to see the same stuff you can see day in and day out. That wouldn't make any sense. Um, but the OK Corral was not very big. And today, if you had a gunfight like that, there were a lot more people dead. The crazy thing is, back in those days, even at such a close range, it's shooting somebody. The uh, the gun barrels were not rifled, so a lot of times the bullets didn't fly straight. So you kind of had to know how your gun was going to behave to actually get the best performance out of it, which meant it, right? Rifles are a little bit better because the barrel was longer, but even then, they weren't rifled. The barrels weren't rifled. Um, and if you know what I'm talking about, that's the grooves in the gun barrels that help the bullet to you know transition to a straight path. So a lot of times the bullets would just come out and they'd go in different directions, and you weren't really sure what was going to happen. So it took a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, but a lot of it had to do with you had to know your weapon. You had to know what your weapon was going to do, and to go into a fight with a weapon you didn't know was not a smart thing to do. And then this is going to be a little smoke. So use the so I'm going to make the drawing. I think that's good enough to give me a good start. Um, and then inside the smoke, so he's firing, and I'm going to make this area full of smoke. So I want to make sure I erase the pencil lines out of there because I'm going to use very little uh, paint in that area. I want that translucence to show through. So I don't want pencil lines in there. Um, and I'm actually going to do a black. I was thinking on whether or not I was going to black out the entire back, which I still might do, but I'm also thinking I might go with a gray. So if I look at the picture, um, the fight took place during the daylight hours. Uh, so there would be sun shining, and um, it wouldn't be all dark. But at the same time, This is an illustration. This is a painting, and I can, take a little artistic license. I'm not trying to do anything, that's movie accurate or historically accurate. I'm trying to make a cool painting. That's all I'm trying to do. Is make a cool painting, something that somebody looks at and they go, "Ooh, that's a cool painting." And hopefully something somebody looks at and go, "Ooh, that's a cool painting," and I want to buy it. That's always the overall goal. That's a cool painting, and I want to buy it. Um, so I'm gonna do a black, very light black wash. Uh, and I might black out some of these areas. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around with it a little bit. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tape this down. Just a second. Let me grab my board here. So when I start them off, I like to tape them down on a board so that I can easily access the bottom and have access to all the edges on the painting. While I'm doing this, we can talk a little bit more about Doc Holliday and the Wild West. Uh, I'm not an expert on it. I know a little bit about it, but I love learning more about it. I love watching Wild West documentaries and reading up on some of the historic figures. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that it wasn't a great time, right? I mean, anybody who goes West was a great time to live in. I would say you are smoking some stuff. It was not a great time to live in. It was a harsh time to live in. Life expectancy was short. Medical care was horrible. Um, and so then you think, well, okay, well, what's the appeal of the West? I think for me, the appeal of the West was that time where it, you had, it didn't take a lot of means to explore. It took grit. You had to be willing to little hell and maybe you would have a return on your. Let me see. I'm going to need a brush. Is this brush going to be too big? Maybe a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. So for my palette, I'm using my aluminum baking tray, and I've got my shop towel wetted down. And the colors, I'm going to use a very limited palette. I've got the M-Gram titanium white and ivory black. And then the main painting, I'm just going to use tan and burnt umber. But I've got my yellow ochre and my red just in case I want to try to throw in some splotches of pizzazz. You know what I mean? I don't know what I mean, but I know what I mean. You know what I mean. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to do a black wash, but while it's wet, I want to do, I'm going to dry this part out a little bit for the smoke. And I'm going to lightly put the buildings in. And what am I going to do that with? I think I'm going to do that with the tan, even though that really or should I think I may do it with the burnt umber, because if I go with a because the tan I'm really gonna use on his hands and face, uh, with maybe a little burnt umber in the shadows. Okay, let me take a second, think about it here. I'm gonna do the black wash, and I want these buildings to kind of have a gray tone, really. I really just want them to have a gray tone. So I'm gonna have to mix up a little white as well. Ooh, I gotta start remembering to clean up my caps. And I'm almost out of my black, but actually there's plenty for what I want to do now. But luckily I have several tubes. I keep the black and the white, you know, try to keep those handy. Splatter paint all over myself. Another using wash. Real quick and easy cleanup. Let me just go wash this off real quick. For the most part, I don't need to. I could just grab the rag and wipe it off. Now with oil, such luck. With oil paints, it's you make a mess, you make a mess. So I'm just going to start off with black wash and gray tone and just try to capture some of the vibe of the painting that I want. Because the underpainting is probably going to be one of the most important things, I'm going to take my time and try to do this part of it. Again, this is Mythology Madness, and today we're doing Doc Holliday, the myth and legend of the Wild West. And I gotta, for some reason, I don't, there we go. All right. Although I don't know if that's working right. So that's a little bit darker than I wanted. So actually, it's a lot darker than I wanted. But it's okay. I'm going to keep it watered down. And really, all I want to do is just make sure. The reason I like doing the wash is because you see how it beads up, and I want to make sure that the final paint, it doesn't bead up as I do my painting. So this wash is going to give the rest of the painting a little tackiness to stick to. And that's the main reason why I do the wash. Additionally, is oh, I didn't mean to do that. Additionally, there we go. That lightens it up a little bit. Additionally, um, I don't have to worry about trying to cover everything. Uh, if I miss something, I know there's something underneath to catch the color, and so I won't miss everything. All right, that's what I wanted. Although I do think I lost some of my underdrawing for the background. Uh, this dries, it'll pop up. If I can keep the now here's where the smoke's going to be. So I want to just kind of lighten that up, the smoke coming out of the gun. Give that a little texture, a little background under there. And what I'm doing is I'm just soaking up the wash with the brush. I can even put some little streaks in there. And that should dry as a nice little background. And I think that's all I want to do on the wash. Let that dry a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can take a little gray and get my buildings in there. If I can see the pencil marks underneath. Actually, I'm going to suck up a little bit more of this over here. Yeah, just suck up a little bit more. I think that's going to be cool. And the reason I want to do it now on the wash phase is because I think it'll look cooler because it's going to dry much nicer than if I painted it. And I'll still add a little but I give that cloud of smoke a much better appeal than if I just tried to do something different. I can't see my pencil marks at all. Um, so that's okay though. That's okay. While this is wet, I am going to do a mixture of uh, a gray and kind of his shirt's going to be kind of white and his face is going to be kind of tan. And then the gun, I actually think I have a silver metal paint. I love using the Arteza paints because of their um, variety of colors. I'm not even really sure where to go next on this. I'm going to give this a second and let it dry just a little bit because I'm still not sure what I'm going to do for the background. But I need to make a decision over on this side before this dries too much. Yep, that's what I need to do. I need to get a little bit of gray in there for these buildings. I need to do that while it's still wet. And I can't really see it that much, but I'm pretty sure it comes down like that a little bit. And then maybe like this. Got a lean-to. I think there's a building like that. And maybe something like that. Okay. So that's cool. I like that. All right, I like that. I like that. And then over here, let me get a little bit more. Doing this while it's wet, I'm going to get that nice fade look. And that's really what I want. So that's going to be kind of cool. And then if I want to highlight some areas, I can, but I won't have to. Okay, yep, that's what I wanted. I can't really see where my pencil marks were, but that's going to dry just the way I want it to. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be stupendous. And while that's drying, I'm going to come back in the smoke with just a little tab of water. I'm just going to, oh, not that much water. I'm going to try to tab that out again. Too much water, too much water. Okay, pick some of that up. Come back on the other brush with that tad, just a really light gray. Put that in there. And then come back with this brush and just kind of smoke it out again. And hopefully that gives me the effect that I want when that dries. I think it will. I think it's going to dry just the way I want it to. And now I'm going to leave it alone and let the water do its work. All right. While that is setting, I'm going to take this slush out of my palette, out of my palette. I just made a big watery mess that I'm not going to be able to mix paint in, so I'm just soaking up some of the water, and that'll be cool. All right, now underpainting, good wash, dry just the way I want it to, and I can start focusing on Doc Holliday. Again, I want to take a moment to welcome everybody to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. And I'm going to start off tiling. I don't know whether it's going to stay loose or not, but I'm going to start off doing some tiles of some areas that I know are in deep shadow, like his hat, the holster, his pants. They don't need to be, too detailed, because really the focal point, aside from the face, because the face on the person is always going to be the focal point, is the fast gun. That's really what I want to be the focal point. And I think that cloud of smoke is going to give me a good setting for what I want. And I think we're off to a good start. So what shall we do? Let's go with again, I don't want to go jet black. So I'm gonna go with a burnt umber, and I'm gonna mix it with a little black to give me something, deeper. If I have some burnt umber left, which I do, um, and I've already made muddy water with that black. So let me clean up my water jug real quick. Get some fresh water. All right. Now, if I wanted to, or if I decide to go with an actual colored background, I think it'll be okay. Or if I decide to go total black, I think that'll be okay. And I could go total black and then blend it into his hat and his holster and his pants and kind of frame it into a vignette. That would be really cool too. Probably won't get that far tonight. You see how this is drying and it's giving those natural rings like smoke almost? Oh, it's coming, it's coming out great. I don't know if you can see it, but it has some of those natural rings that are going to look great as smoke. So I'm going to mix a little of a lot of the burnt umber with a little bit of black. And that's going to take me a long way into getting a dark color that almost looks black, but is not black. It'll be a darker brown, darker than a chocolate brown, which would be cool. A lot of times people ask me, what's the best way to mix paint? And I go, I have no idea. You just got to mix paint. You just got to get in there, mix it up, make ugly colors, and you learn. You learn. Oh, you know what? For example, black and white. It doesn't take a lot to establish those. So I am going to. Which brush am I going to go with? I'm going to go with one of my favorites here. And I use the Filbert as my mixing brush. I try not to paint with it though. I'm going to start off with a number 4 round, which has kind of grown to be one of my favorite brushes. And I meant to buy more brushes last weekend when I was at Hobby Lobby, and I didn't do it. But that was my intention. And now it's the part where I have a color that I like, and I hope I mixed enough, because that's always the issue. So one of the things that I just learned recently is when I mix a color for the first time that I like, when I start painting, start off painting the big sections. That way, if I run out, the new color that I mix is only for some of the smaller sections, which won't show as much. So on this big section here, I'm going to go and see. The other thing I like about gouache is that's almost dry. I am a hand rester. I rest my hand on top of my artwork. Very bad habit. If someone says, hey, should you rest your hand on your artwork? No, you shouldn't. But I tell people all the time, I'm not a doctor. I don't have steady surgeon hands. And so I need to rest my hand on top. Now, this is nowhere near dark enough. Now that I'm putting it down, I think it needs to be even darker. But if I go darker, then I won't be able to go darker for some of the accent areas that I want to do. So I think it'll be good for the block in. It's not going to be final color, which is cool. Um, I don't mind that at all. I also am kind of proud of myself for making a good mix. I don't often make good mixes, but this mix is nice and creamy. It's flowing well. Doc Holliday was an actual doctor. He was a dentist, if you consider that a doctor. But in those days, a dentist was a lot more than just teeth. Um, they did a lot of stuff, and they were probably some of your best physicians back in the day. He comes from a good family. He didn't have to choose the life that he chose. He did it understanding that he didn't have to do it. He grew up east of the Mississippi River, but then it was discovered that he had tuberculosis. If I'm not mistaken, his father died from TB, if I remember that correctly. And that's what took him out west was uh, living out west was supposed to be better for your health, the dry air. And that may be one of the reasons why I like living out there is the dry air. Um, Now I live in Florida. I'm pretty acclimated to Florida life now, but I do think I felt better health wise living in the desert air. Ooh, I messed that one up. That's okay. Put a little ear in there. And I think this is one of the reasons why I like this brush is I can get some pretty nice details. And like I said, I'm just doing a block in of some of the areas I know are going to be dark. And the good part is I'm not so dark I can't go darker, but it's definitely going to be a nice block in. The big mustaches that they liked back in that day too is kind of interesting. Oh, okay, I messed that up. That little smidge right there. Now, because it's gouache, I could easily take something and just get it up, but it would also mess up the wash. I wonder if I can though. If I take my time, let me see if I can get that up without messing up too much. So it did mess up the wash, which I thought it would, but that's okay. At least I won't have that big blob to deal with later. I think this is already starting to turn out pretty good. I mean, you can almost see the figure coming to life already. And I was talking about their big mustaches. I don't know what the driving force was behind the big mustaches back in that day, but I always thought it was interesting. Uh, it was like a machismo thing. Oh, look at that big mustache. But then there was a lot of stylish mustaches as well. Now, the cool thing about this time period is there were cameras. We were at a point in history where you actually have pictures of Doc Holliday, the real Doc Holliday. And you can see what he looked like. And he had a kind of look that you wouldn't think twice about challenging him, right? You'd be like, man, let's go. But there was also a time period that you want to fight meant you want a gunfight, not you want a fist fight. It meant you want a gunfight. So if somebody asked you or challenged you to a fight, they meant guns. Um, so there was a lot of you had to be kind of careful because challenging somebody to a fight, there may not be any coming back from that. But again, a lot of times people wouldn't die because the guns weren't that accurate. But depending on where you shot somebody, because medical care also wasn't that great, a wound that today we would think is nothing, people back then would die from. It's one of those time periods where I don't know if I would want to live during that time period, but it's definitely interesting. I often think, how would I have made my way during that time period, especially as a person of color? What path would I have chosen during that time period? It's interesting. It's very interesting. Again, I want to take a moment to thank everybody for stopping by. I want to thank people for watching the video. If you're watching this after the fact, I really think this is coming together really fast. I'm digging it. I have lost a lot of my line work, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. That's already starting to look good to me. And it's a chocolate brown. And so it's going to, I don't even know what I was thinking down here, but I'm just going to go and just paint all that out. I can still come back with an even darker color, which I'm going to do, and add even deeper shadows. But I think this color is a very good color for blocking in. I made enough of it, so I'm not running out. I'm keeping it nice and creamy and smooth. I'm keeping it very opaque, which is the main thing, is I want that good coverage to cover up the pencil lines. One of the other things about living in Florida is, and working with gouache, is I have to be aware of the humidity in the house, because the humidity in the house is going to affect my painting. It's going to affect how fast it dries. It's going to affect how the paint mixes together. That is already looking good. That is already looking pretty cool, even if I say so myself, which I do. I do indeed. So now, oh, I got a little, I want some of this under the arm as well. Hmm. The reason I don't want to make this painting too tight is because it's an action pose. And if I make it too tight, I may wind up um, with something that looks static, and that's not what I want. I want it to look like he's in motion, like it's like he's throwing down right now. Um, that's what's happening. He's throwing down. So I don't want it to look, you know, like he's just standing there. And if I make the painting too tight, I think that's what'll happen, is I'll lose the momentum and the gravity of the painting. So I'm probably going to keep it somewhat loose. What's happening? Hell Candy Ray. My work wife, what's happening? I am doing Mythology Madness, doing Doc Holiday, a painting that I've been thinking about doing since August of last year. And I started it from scratch today. I tightened up the pencil sketch real quick, and then I started working on it. I did the wash a little bit too heavy, and I washed out my pencil lines, but that's okay. It's making me explore and do some things, so I'm cool with that. How are you doing? What's happening in your world? Well, first, you got to tell me, are you a fan of the Wild West? Because the wrong answer, and you can't be my friend. Sleepy, what have you been up to? Now, I will say I was tired as the Dickens today. Um, I'm ready to go to bed myself. Living in Texas, do you have to be a fan of the Wild West? I would say you do. Obligated by birthright. Hmm. You just did a train recently, didn't you? How did it go? Were you on that train recently? One of the things I learned about living out west is that your eyes become naturally closed. I because the sun is so heavy, the sun is so bright, your eyes start to naturally just start to close. Squinty, yes. You get squinty, but it doesn't mean your eyesight's going. It just means you're shading your eyeballs. Now, I have bad eyesight anyway, but it you develop a natural squint living out west. Florida, not so much. You would think that, being the sunshine state, but it's oftentimes a lot of overcast, to be honest. So you don't. Whereas out west, Arizona, New Mexico territory, Nevada, even when it's cold, the sun is beaming down on you. I think sunshine's on tonight too. I don't know. Um, Someone was asking me about that earlier today, and I was like, I have no idea. Uh, I'm sure we'll be able to see it, of course, but I don't know if it's going to be like quick or if it's going to be. So one of the ladies I work with, she explained to me today the crap. Now I'm going to forget the term that she used, but basically it was had to do with how long the eclipse is going to last for you, depending on totality. That's what she called it, totality. Her and her family are gonna go camping. They're taking off tomorrow to go west into think Arkansas, and they're gonna get. She said like 3 minutes of eclipse. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I don't know how long it's gonna be here. It's probably gonna be over quick, fast, and in a hurry. That's my guess anyway. And I forgot it was coming. So I was glad people started reminding me. This is already starting to look pretty cool. Oh, don't drop it. Don't drop it. In my opinion, in my humbleness, this is already starting to look pretty cool. These deep shadows that I'm putting in to help just kind of form up the oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. part of me thinks I'm overdoing some of the areas and I should make a new color, but I haven't decided if I'm gonna black out that background. And if I do, which that was the intent. The intent was to go with a total black background for all my Wild West paintings. That was always the intention. And so it won't hurt if I don't do it. But if I do it, and then I'm missing my line work, it's going to look ugly. You don't care? Your work is just beautiful. You haven't done any shows recently, though, have you? Or have I just been missing them? I know I've missed a lot. I have been working so hard. I've missed a lot of shows from a lot of the people I really love to follow. I try to jump on when I can and catch people, drop some tips, show some love. I met a couple of great new artists out there. Um, so that's been fun. Oh, you've been on every night this week? Oh man, I suck. I missed all your shows. I don't think I have been on. I think after work, where's that? I think after work, it's Thursday. Well, Wednesday is my Dungeons and Dragons night, so I rarely catch shows on Wednesdays. Um, so Monday, Tuesday, just I've been passing out. I have really been passing out. I and I try not to. It messes up my sleep patterns, and but then I get tired, and I'm like, don't fight it. Just go to bed. Oh, sweet. Uh, I got invited to a train. I forgot who it was, and I was like, I am so sorry. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I love doing it. I'll pop in and support, but I can't commit to any trains. It's just not in me. Because when I do the trains, I like to, be there the whole day, support the other artists, show some love. I don't want to just pop in for my part and then fall out. That I think that defeats the purpose. Did you ask me to do a train? If you did, I guess I did say no, but I don't remember you asking me to do a train. Oh, oh, wow. Hopefully, I was nice about it. I probably was half asleep. You're not lying about that one. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, I am using the wrong color too. Hmm. But that's okay. Actually, I'm using the wrong color, but it is adding to the texture. So I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I just looked down, I was like, I've been mixing the wrong damn color. But that's okay. That's okay. I miss seeing your work. Watching you work is is so inspirational. The way you're just nice and calm and the details come together. And the next thing you know, you're like, damn, that's good. Yeah, there's only certain colors I can't differentiate. Um, and if they're really close together, they look the same to me. And but that's why it's weird. So I have no idea what my pictures look like to other people who are not colorblind. I only see what I see. But what people have told me is that there's a lot of contrast because that's the only way I can see the difference. So to other people, it looks like a lot of contrast. Whereas I'm like, I'm going for really slight contrast. But I think it adds to, I hate to say style, but it adds to the style and kind of shows that, oh, that's a Brad painting. And like you said, I don't really care. I got to do what I can do. I mean, I can't pretend that I can see colors that I can't see. Be like, oh yeah, I'll see that color, and people like, you sure? Because it doesn't look like it. I go, you're right. I don't see shit. Hmm. Oh man. So it does look like a lot of contrast to you. Like it's probably more than what I see from what you're seeing, or it's probably more to what you're seeing than what I see. Because to me, I'm like, oh, they're pretty close together, but they're probably not as close as I think they are. There probably is a good amount of contrast, and I think it adds. I think it adds because when I watch and look at art from other people who are colorblind, and I see something different from what they're seeing, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder how they did that. But I know they did it because that's what they're seeing. They're not intentionally trying to or not do something. It's just what they see. And I am not mad at the way this one's coming out at all. And the more I do this, the more I'm like, I'm going to keep it loose. I'm not going to try to tighten it up and ruin it. But I do want to put enough detail in to keep it looking cool as well. All right. I think that might be it for this color. Now I'm going to do that actually, you know what? That would actually probably sell to pet owners like crazy. If you were like, this is how your dog sees it, they would be like, oh my God, I gotta get it. That would be a built-in marketing bonanza right there. Let me tell you. People be like, oh my God, I got this painting for my dog. You can't see it right because you human. Hmm. They be bragging to their friends. I got a dog painting. You could be the dog painting whisperer. It's not for you, it's for your dog. I bet your dog loves it. So I don't know if I told you how I do people at conventions. A lot of times when so at a comic convention or art fair, a lot of times people want to negotiate the price of the art. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I don't, because I'm in a unique position where I don't have to sell it. I'll bring it home with me. I don't care. Uh, I'm not. Art isn't my only means of income at the time. Now, once I retire, I'll probably negotiate the hell out of it. But the goal is that by the time I retire from my day job, built up enough cachet where I don't have to negotiate either. But people come to my table and they'll say stuff like, "How much is this?" And I'll go, "That's $80 for a pen and ink." And they go, "Ooh, I don't know if it's worth $80." And I'll go, "Well, you know why? That's because I didn't draw that one for you." And they'll be like, "What?" I'll be like, "That is obviously the one that is not for you. That's the one that's for the $80 customer. You need to look over in this sketch portfolio here for the $20 sketches." And then they're like, "But I like this one." I go, "No, you don't. Those are the $80 customers. You are a $20 customer." And they think I'm being a smart ass. And I'm like, "No, you can't tell me how much." Now, at the same time, it's the value of it is only what someone's willing to pay. I completely agree with that, because I'll go buy some people's stuff, or I'll be looking to hire artists sometime, and I'll go, "How much for a comic cover?" And they'll be like, $800. I'll be like, "You are not an $800 comic cover person. Otherwise, you would be working for DC or Marvel. I don't like you. You need to catch reality." So there's that fine balance between what you're worth and what other people value you at. I know a lot of great artists, but it gets to the point where there is what you're worth balanced with the value of what you do. Until you can build up your personal tribe, the value, you have to kind of, be a little bit realistic about what your value is, because a lot of people out there overvalue their stuff, and they take it home with them, and they're like, "Well, I'm not going to sell it for this cheap." I go, "I get it. I'm with you. Don't sell it for that cheap, but be willing to take it home, because if other people don't think it's worth that, then it doesn't have that value. It may be worth it. The skill is there, the composition is there, the beauty of it is there, but the value of it is, if the person isn't emotionally involved in the piece, or if they can't sell it, a lot of people come in for resale, they want to buy it and resell it. Well, then it's not the value. The value is just not there until you build up enough of a demand where people are asking for your stuff. I mean, some of my first sketches were like $5, $10, and I would sell through, and that's how I measured it. If I was charging $10 and then I didn't come home with anything, everything sold, then I know the price was too low. If people are like, "This is only $10," yeah, I'll take it. That's how I knew the price was too low. If I charged $80 and I came home with everything, well, then the price was too high. Now I have a mixture. I have stuff for $2, $3, $5, $10, $20, and then once it gets into the original art, $60 sketches, $80 sketches. Paintings are $100 to $200, up to $500, $600, $700, depending on what somebody wants. Yeah, I'm with you. I actually took that page from your book, and now my sketch cards, I just start them at a buck. I do them, and I say that I'm going to start the auction at $1. Uh, and I took that page out of your book. Just hey, whatever. Just I'm going to do the sketches anyway. If somebody wants it and they're willing to give me a buck for it, I'm cool with it. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Because I know the value of what you're doing and how much it's worth, and your stuff is just so unbelievable. It is great. I'm going to try to indicate the stripes on the shirt, and that's not dark enough. I need to put back in a little bit more. He's got on a striped shirt, which I want to try to. I'm going to paint over it, but underneath, I want those stripes to kind of be indicated, like, oh, that looks like a striped shirt. But I don't want to overwhelm the stripes. Oh wow, I've been going for an hour and a half already. Holy crap! Now I will say this is pretty good progress for an hour and a half. I'm not mad at the progress. That's a little bit better. I like this color better. I think this actually looks a little bit like Val Kilmer in Tombstone. I know the one I did of Wyatt Earp with who was it, Kurt Russell? That one has been easily recognizable. People go, oh, that's Kurt Russell from Tombstone. And I go, thank you. It feels good when people when they like, oh yeah, boo, I know what that's from. There's another artist that I know I met at a convention. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It wasn't my intention, but I wasn't trying to. I was just trying to get the pose, but it actually turns out that it turned out pretty good. I met this artist and last year, and we were talking about he's a he does some book covers. I've done some book covers, and we were talking about we both want to do this Wild West motif. Um, and he showed me some of the stuff he was working on, and I was like, and I showed him what I was. He had a booth there. I didn't have a booth at this particular convention, and I was like, dude, can I show you something? So I pull out my phone and I show him what I'm working on. He's like, wow, we're both doing the same paintings and sketches. I'm like, I know, is it crazy or what? And then I showed him the sketch for the Val Kilmer, and he was like, "When you paint that, send it to me. I want to see it." Because I had showed him I had finished the Wired Earp, and he was like, "This is really sharp. Show me." He's like, "I want to see the Val Kilmer Doc Holliday when you finish it." And I was like, "Definitely." So it's again, this was August. That's what it was for me too. Is once I did that area there, I was like, oh my God, that looks like Val Kilmer. Now the hard part is going to be don't mess it up. Oh, because this is just the underpainting for the most part. These are just the block ends, not the underpainting. The block ends, I have to be careful not to mess them up now, which honestly, I don't worry about too much, to be honest. If I mess it up, I mess it up. As long as the painting is good, I don't really care if it looks like Val Kilmer. I just want a good painting in the end. I would like to think I have enough skill to keep the resemblance, but we shall see. I might be wrong, or I may decide to go a different direction and don't want it to look like Val Kilmer at all. Because that wasn't the intent. The intent was just to capture the pose, because I'm not necessarily trying to paint Tombstone. So that's kind of why I don't mind if it doesn't look like him. I'm just trying to do a series of Wild West paintings. And I don't want to necessarily call it Doc Holliday because it doesn't look like Doc Holliday. The real Doc Holliday does not look like this. And then if I painted the real Doc Holliday, people would go, "That I don't know who that is." Thank you very much, very much. Don't mess it up. The Kurt Russell one, I wasn't trying to do Kurt Russell, but I guess that scene and that stance is iconic enough. Everybody who sees it, they go, Kurt Russell Tombstone. And I go, yes, exactly. One of the reasons I should say, I don't necessarily want to all be like that is like when I do some of the other ones, if they don't come out looking like the actor, I don't I don't want it to be like, how come this one doesn't look like so and so? That's kind of why I'm like, I don't necessarily want it to be too much resemblance, because if they all don't come out right, then they're gonna be like, how come this one's messed up? Lower the expectation, exactly. Oh shoot. Oh man. Now when I do my portraits, graphite sketches, those I do try to make look just like the person. But one of the things I don't do, which some of my friends have told me, I should just do, is I don't grid it out. I freehand sketch them. And some of my friends are like, just grid it out. And I go, I don't know, man. I've gridded out, painting or portraits before, pictures, but I don't know. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't like doing it. I don't know why it is. It's probably just my own personal hang up, but I don't like gridding it out. Yes, true enough, it's going to look like the person if I grid it out. It's going to be much. It absolutely be much better. One of my friends, Wes, he grids out all of his paintings, and he's like, people aren't buying the the grid; they're buying the result of the painting that you're doing. And he grids out all his paintings, and they look so beautiful. Oh my god! And he's like, just grit it out, man. I'm like, I can't grit it out. All right. Let's see. I've got the wash down. I've got the building silhouettes down. I've got the smoke down. I like the way it dried. Um, I've got my darkest darks for the deep not the darkest darks, but the block boxed in shadows. I've got that down. Um, I don't know. How much more do I want to do? The shirt, I have to really let that dry to go over it with the actual shirt color. And I don't have the skin tone mixed, but I can block it in. I can block in the skin tone. And that way, when it dries, I'll have an idea of what it's going to be as far as any silhouettes. But I'm definitely happy with the way this has turned out so far. Oh, I do want to kind of block in that shirt up here. If you've never been to a Wild West show, I would highly advise going to check one out. They are so much fun. Uh, just watching reenactments and, you know, random gunfights on the street. You yellow belly coward! Pa 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 pa! Like, whoa, what the hell is going on? I mean, they're very cool. They're fun to watch. I'm taking my sister to Tombstone in September, October, and she's looking forward to it. So a lot of times they'll have a lot of places will have Wild West shows. I know they have some in Dallas area, San Antonio and Dallas. Definitely some in the Arizona area, New Mexico area. And they'll have the horse shows. Sometimes it's as part of a rodeo, which I have mixed feelings about rodeos. Yes, they're fun. A little bit of animal cruelty. Uh, so I'm kind of torn between the enjoyment of a rodeo. We grew up, even in Indiana, we would have rodeos come to town, and I always enjoyed going to the rodeo. But definitely, you know, animal cruelty going on there. And being a fan of bulls, I definitely, bullfight is just cruel. That's just some cruel shit. And at first, I remember thinking, bullfight was kind of cool. You going up against a bull, until I learned how it actually goes down, where guys on horses come out first. They stab the bull in the shoulder so he can't be as powerful and strong and fast. And then the guy comes out with his little dinky sword and kills the bull. I'm like, that's bullshit, is what that is. That's cheating. You want to impress me? You just, it's like shooting a bear. Oh, I killed a bear. Like, with a gun? That ain't, man, that don't impress me. Take a knife, go out in the woods and fight a bear. You want to impress me? Go mano a mano with the animal, and then come back and tell me how badass you are. All right, I put way too much paint out, but I am going to block in some of the skin tone. Fight barehanded. There you go. I've got a friend who crossbow hunts, and I was like, okay, maybe that's a step up from a gun. I get it, but I'm still like, I don't know, just hunting for sport shit. Gunfights, you got somebody just as skilled. I remember, where did I see my first gunfight? I think it may have been in Indiana at one of the rodeo shows, but definitely out in Arizona. They have the gunfight reenactments, and they're pretty cool. They're fun, especially when they're unexpected. You're just kind of like walking through, enjoying the fair, and now all of a sudden somebody go, "You're cheating, you yellow belly coward!" And you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then they have a mock gunfight on the street. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Just to think though, back in that day, you could be killed for cheating at cards. That's like crazy. It's like, I think you're cheating. I can kill you. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Damn. That's kind of overkill, isn't it? I'm like, man, I'm just cheating at cards. Holy cow. Now, this color is way too light, but that's okay. I've already mixed it up, so I'm going to use it. And its gouache is going to dry a little bit darker, but I didn't want to go too dark because I want to try to keep that contrast between the lights and the darks. And I'm just doing a block in. This is going to get rid of the gray that I did the wash with. So now when it dries, I can come back and start really putting in my colors, which I'm probably going to do tomorrow, just like I did with my last painting. I liked it so much, I couldn't wait to start working on it again. And this one is already in that same category where I'm liking it so much. If I didn't have to work, I would probably do 4 or 5 hours on this tonight. But I do have to work tomorrow, and it's not good to go that long without a break for my hands anyway. So after I block in the face and hands, I am going to call it a night. I'm not going to worry about the pistol right now because that's going to be a focal point, so that's going to get a little bit more detail. Now this looks like Val Kilmer's ghost. Actually, is that a little bit morbid since he actually has passed away? Ooh. Oh, after I said it, I was like, oh, I don't know. That may have been a poor choice of words. I love Val Kilmer. I think he was a fantastic actor. And I love that Tom Cruise made it possible to put him in Top Gun Maverick. And the way they did it was perfect. And they brought that magic together. They brought that magic back. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. So now I am destroying some of the details, which is great because they're going to allow me to come back and put them in a different tone, and it's going to add to the depth of the picture. Yeah, I think Val Kilmer passed away already. Double check. Double check. But yeah, I think he has passed. Oh, okay. I know he's sick, and I think he is. I know he lost his voice, but he's sick, like for real sick. Yeah. He I know he had trouble making Top Gun Maverick just because of his health. It wasn't just his voice. It was he had trouble getting through the set. Now I feel really bad that he's not that I put that on him. I'm sorry, Val. I tried to meet him when I lived out in New Mexico. He had a home in Santa Fe, and I used to take care of some of the Target stores in New Mexico, not some of them, all the Target stores in New Mexico. I used to take care of the facilities. Um, and in New Mexico store, Val Kilmer and Julia Roberts used to shop. Always try to catch them, and I never could. I always missed them. And but those were two of my favorite actors, and I was just like, oh, if I get a chance to meet them, I'm gonna say something. But they would always tell us, if they come in the store, you leave them alone and let them shop. I was like, hell no. If they come in the store, I'm gonna say something. But I never saw them. And I remember, one of the store managers was like, Julia Roberts does not want you coming up trying to talk to her with tampons in her cart. I was like, good point. Oh. I remember I did meet Holly Holm, who was she used to be a boxer and then she switched over to MMA, and she's one of my favorites. I met her in the Albuquerque store. I was checking out the store, and well, they were just saying, it's the shopping experience is because this was back before the days of you ordering a lot of stuff online. You had to go get it. And they were like, when people come shopping at a Target or Walmart, the stuff in their cart is very personal. They're like any person's cart, they could have feminine hygiene products, they could have condoms, they could have all kind of stuff. And they don't want fans just like, oh my God, you be all up in your cart and in your personal business. Oh, is that the brand toilet paper you use? Oh my God. Hmm. But I think it was because I was like, I don't care about, you know, what she got in her cart. And then, but once they said that, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. I was like, good point. Good point. And I just made that finger really big. So I'm going to have to definitely tone that one down a little bit when I get to it. I think part of this is supposed to be the gun, though. I think I came over too far. But when I met Holly home, I waited till she checked out. And then in the parking lot, I just fanboyed out on her. And I was like, if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I don't care. She's one of my favorite fighters. And she was so sweet. She was one of the nicest people I ever met in my life. Built incredible. I mean, on TV, of course, they look athletic, but her muscles in live in person, I was like, oh my God. I bet if she hit or kicked somebody, a normal person would just fall down and die. I could see the power in her legs. Just the muscularity in them was crazy. Her arms, she had straight up guns. I was like, oh my God. I bet she could knock the fuck out of somebody. But super pleasant, great smile, very nice. I didn't ask for autograph or anything, but I just went up and introduced myself, and she was so sweet. She was very nice. Oh, I didn't mess it up that bad. Like hot dog fingers. Oh shoot! What movie was that? Where the guy went out with this girl, and then was it Seinfeld? When he was dating the girl with man hands, and she was cracking the lobsters with her fingers, with her bare hands and stuff. That was hilarious. I wish I had picked the color to the gun. Actually, because I'm doing good on time, I've got 10 minutes. Let me see if I can find my silver, metallic silver, real quick. And I can block in the gun. That way, all of it dries, all the block in dries right. I don't even know if I have silver. I know I have metallics. Right on top. Oh, yeah. Lucky day. They must want me to block it in. Silver's right on top. Okay, I'm going to block in the gun real quick. And then I'm going to call it a night. That was just serendipitous, if that's the right word. And most of this I'm going to use straight, but I'm going to mix a little bit of black on part of it for the shadow. But it has the metallic flake in it, so it should look pretty good. Wow, I can't believe it was right on top when I opened up my case. That was like an omen saying, yes, do the block in. This will complete the block in for the entire picture. Again, if I didn't have to work tomorrow, I would love to just keep going on this one, which is why I'm going to jump on tomorrow night and work on it some more. I already know I am. It's too fun. It's coming out a lot how I want it to. I'm not going to fight it. That's one thing I've noticed is when when it's working right, I just got to go with it. I just got to go with it and let the paint gods do their thing. Use me. Use me. And I'm still going to finish on time. I think this isn't bad for 2 hours worth of work. And I got to chat with one of my favorite people in the world, the often imitated, never duplicated Ray, aka Hell Candy, aka Oh hell no, hell yeah. What you say? Hell no, hell yeah, hell Candy. Hmm. I really hope the smoke comes out the way I want it to in the final. I just can't mess it up because I took my time to do the wash properly and dry it and move it and shape it and redo it and just kept fiddling with it. So I'm hoping when this is all said and done that the smoke from the gun looks cool. I think it looks cool now, but you know, we're not. We're only at stage two. Stage one being the wash, stage two being the block in. And I'm definitely thinking this is going to be total black, total black, total black. Keep that Wild West motif of the black vignette going. And so I think that'll look good around the smoke. I just got to take my time and do it right. Like letting this dry brush into the smoke and not overwhelm it. Oh yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. The dark brown isn't so dark that I can't go darker. I'm happy so far. I'm happy so far. And 10:32, less than 2 hours work. Beat my time by a few minutes. Um, Definitely need to let this dry because I'm going to be going over it. And even though gouache dries fast, I want it to be nice and dry and attached to the wash so that I don't easily pick it up and I can go over it with my local colors. But I do like the way the smoke is coming out so far. I'm pretty sure this is going to be deep black, and then a deep black at top, vignetting it. Maybe I'll add a little more to the shadow of the buildings, just kind of show them up a little bit, but make sure I do it in a light wash, and then focus on the gun smoke and the face. And I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be very cool. And I still think it looks like Val Kilmer so far. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by, hanging out. Got a couple of people who hung in there with me, so I appreciate it. And I will be continuing this tomorrow night. And then Saturday night, sketch card Saturday night, we are going to continue working on the Bad Batch Star Wars characters. And are you on tomorrow, Hell Candy? Okay. What time's your show? Okay, cool. Perfect timing. I should be done, and then I'm going to jump on your show and hang out. It's Friday night, so it'll be perfect. All right, everybody, take care. Peace out, and I'll see you tomorrow.